So there's this spectrum that I like to talk about.
Yeah.
So I do something called holistic fitness training, which sounds more along the lines of some of the things you were just describing. It's challenging through mind over body, mind over matter, right? It's challenging what you think you can do, right? Where the body thinks it needs to give up. There are deeper levels of challenge that you can constantly create more resilience that way, right? Okay, so that's the upper end of challenging your nervous system as a stressor.
Okay.
TRE is about the lower end. So when you challenge your body to the point where it shakes from fatigue, there are two basic types of tremoring that I'm familiar with through the work that I do. Postural tremoring is tremoring that happens through that exertion, that upper end. The lower end is what's called neurogenic tremors. Now, this happens in a very calm, relaxed state, and it's not through fatigue, it's not through challenging the body. It's this natural shaking response that allows a connection to happen in a state of safety, not through the challenge. Right? Both ends are important, right? Because we want to increase our capacity for what we can do, gives the body more of a sense of competence and safety through that upper end.
Yeah.
Right? I can handle whatever life throws at me. Taking martial arts, for example.
Yeah.
We do military training. That increases the resilience in their capacity to tolerate high levels of stress. And for people who've had severe trauma, particularly childhood CPTSD, they need to experience what it feels like to actually drop down lower. Because without that, they hold an armoring in their body that will get in the way of ever passing a certain threshold. A lot of these invisible barriers, these plateaus that we hit, are because our bodies never know how to go into safety enough to be able to recover fully, to be able to recognize, okay, I don't need to armor to protect myself. Because if we don't do that, we're not going to recover fully. We're not going to be able to fully let go so we can exert again.
Yeah.
Right?
I have a question, totally a side note. Is TRE something you could do in a class?
Oh yeah.
Or do you have
In
to do it
fact,
individually?
through the TRE company program,
Yeah.
they have a program called neurogenic yoga.
I love those.
Yeah, so if you have any interest, that's something where you can directly connect the two.
Okay.
So you find ways of fatiguing the body, yes, that's part of the TRE process, but on an exertion scale of 1 to 10, we never go past a 6, maybe a 7.
Okay.
So that upper end is not something we even explore in TRE.
Okay.
Because the goal is to drop down to that lower end. Is to find how deep can I get my body to sink into safety, relaxation, letting go of that unconscious tensioning, that armoring. You heard of tonus? The unconscious percentage of tension our body holds. So there's this awesome book by Thomas Hanna called Somatics.
Okay. Yeah.
Where he talks about tonus and how accidents, childhood trauma, emotional trauma as adults, all these different circumstances can lead to the body armoring, holding on to this tension that we don't know we're holding on to. Infants have 10, 15, 20% as they start to lift their heads, sit up, walk, 30%. When we get into that range of 40 to 55, 60%, we're walking, running, jumping, building skills. We need a certain amount of tonus. Right? Beyond that, we start to experience dysfunction. So it's as we age, we think that a lot of this aging process is about aging. And a lot of it has to do with holding unconscious tension in the body, stress levels going higher and higher, what was known as allostatic load. You realized that when I said that before.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense, yeah.
And so if our allostatic load is too high, typically that's a sign that our body is stuck in a survival loop beyond just the physical tension. We've learned to develop under conditions of survival rather than safety, which leads to all sorts of arrested development, which is why people triggers in situations where we think I shouldn't be triggered, but right now, but I am.
Yeah.
Because mine was fairly extreme. I learned that later on through studying human development. I was like, oh, this isn't normal. Okay. And then I started to explore, talking to my mom about what happened. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. We have a turnover of about 10,000 neurons per second as in infancy. And it's mostly body language exchange, right? And if it's conveying safety, because the parent is able to attune emotionally and to meet the needs of the infant, it doesn't have to be perfect, about 30% leads to secure attachment. The other 70% is repair ruptures. So you just keep trying until you figure it out. So it's not a lot of pressure, actually, if we're able to attune. Now, if we're disconnected with ourselves, forget it. So this leads to something called proximal neglect, where the parent can be there, but they're not able to emotionally attune. So the result is just like physical neglect. The child ends up being overwhelmed, and this leads to this CPTSD experience, very often avoidant attachment. So they disconnect living from the neck up. They're very intellectual, very left-brained, disconnected from their emotions and from the sensations.
Can you say more?
And it's an amazing defense mechanism because we can function really well in the society with hyper left brain mode function, right?
Yeah.
You know, we can become successful business people, and we can, you know,
Open a yoga studio.
and these are all necessary things.
Hey, your mom died. I have an idea. Let's open a yoga studio.
Let's do this.
I mean,
Anything to avoid that mirage of feelings that keep happening.
right? But it's funny because it's true because we all have some level of, okay, I call it functional avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we need to avoid a certain level of pain so we can function in our day.
Yeah.
So scrolling through our phone, you know, while we know that that's unhealthy with our dopamine system, right? In that moment, it may be what keeps us from being overwhelmed so we can keep functioning.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously we don't want to keep perpetuating all those things that deplete our dopamine because it's going to lead to addictive patterns. But if we can use it to the degree that we need to get by, we can still produce what we need to produce income-wise, and we need to meet our needs. Right? And then as we create those resources, hopefully as a society rather than just individual, that's part of what makes our society sick. We're so individually focused. As we learn to rely on one another, as we learn to co-regulate more and more, we create this opportunity to heal from these developmental delays that have happened to most of us. Remember the Ferber method? Tell your, you know, let your baby cry it out. You know, falling asleep through, you know, sleep training, right? They can't regulate their own nervous systems. The result is not that they regulate themselves, they can't. The result is they tune out. They learn to be avoidant. They learn to disconnect from themselves. And so you have a society that's focusing on avoidant things. Money, power, fame, looks, reputation. It's like, it's not that those things aren't important, but if that's all we focus on at the expense of our relationships, we now are missing that key source of regulation, which Dr. Sue Johnson compared the regulation of individuals, self-regulation, and co-regulation. Self-regulation like a 20-watt flashlight in terms of nervous system power. But co-regulation, especially attachment relationships, is more like the floodlights of a stadium. So much more powerful, right? And so as we do this individual work, like TRE, really, the most powerful work is in relationships as a result of that self-awareness. Okay, I have empathy for myself. I can meet my own needs. Oh, I can recognize that in other people's body language. Oh, cool, because I recognize it in myself. So that conversation of the avoidant patterns that happen from our society's unfortunate patterns of human development, we need to somehow shift our awareness of how this development happens so that we can start creating more secure, functioning, regulated people, which creates more connected relationships, and this upward spiral of support for everyone will start to happen. But it's, you know, I don't know how I got on this tangent.
It's all good. No.
So let's circle back, because we talked about this earlier. Let's circle back. Tell us exactly what is TRE? Like what?
TRE stands for tension and trauma releasing exercises.
Okay.
Originally it was called trauma releasing exercises. Now, although it is helpful for resolving stress cycles, as we were talking about earlier, it's also helpful for everyday regulation experience, right? So it's kind of like nervous system hygiene is a great way of thinking of it, right?
I like that.
So you need to brush your teeth in the morning and at night, ideally, and floss, right? You're gonna keep yourself from getting cavities, right? If you go to the gym on a regular basis, you start to build strength from that consistency, right? In the same way, TRE teaches you to go from survival levels of stress in your nervous system down to that regulated, relaxed. Not to say that relaxed and safety is the only regulation. It's healthy to go up and down, but to be able to flexibly go in and out of those states is regulation. And TRE supports training the body to go there more naturally.
So TRE is a practice, not a therapy.
Correct, yes.
So it's like the idea
an
that you...
adjunct. It's a support to therapy. It doesn't replace therapy, although one of the sayings we have in the TRE community is the tremor mechanism is the therapist. The shaking that happens in TRE allows the body to communicate with itself. So it works out a lot of issues on an unconscious level that just can't be worked out consciously with talk therapy.
Yep.
It's not that talk therapy doesn't work.
Agreed.
That's helpful.
Agreed. What I'm curious at, I think you answered it, is TRE is something that I would incorporate in my life. So just like I do yoga every day, just like I brush my teeth, just like you would teach me something that I would do with my body that I could do every day that would help to regulate me so I'm not flipping people off in the car. Like, not just in moments of like extreme trauma or dealing with childhood abuse or something like that. Like someone could use it because they wake up every morning pissed off.
Yeah.
And they're not at the source of what they're having pissed off at. So you would teach this and people would practice it throughout their lives. It's not just like, oh my gosh, I had a traumatic accident, I need to go to Mike Thomas, he'll do 3 sessions with me, I'll be healed. Or I just realized something happened in my childhood and I'll go to a TRE specialist for 6 weeks. So what you invite people to do is create a practice in their lives that they would continue to do, just like brushing their teeth, practicing yoga,
Yes.
going to the gym.
As,
cool.
as I'm sure you've encountered many times with people practicing yoga, there's, probably a misconception among beginners that it's just something you go to a class every so often. But it's a learning process.
Yeah.
It's a skill that you master. So is self-regulation. And TRE supports a much deeper integrated process of self-regulation on an unconscious level. And what I mean by that is the body has regulation patterns through breathing, movement, and sensation. And as we learn to recognize those and map out, okay, what is my nervous system telling me right now? What's the appropriate tool for that? And TRE is a way of deepening that awareness. Because think about squeezing your hands as hard as you can for 10 minutes. They'd go numb eventually, right? The same thing with the unconscious tension in our bodies. As we learn to let that go, TRE facilitates lowering stress and tension. And as a result, awareness opens up. So one of my nicknames for TRE is mindfulness on steroids. Because I had this experience where I practiced mindfulness for the last 20 years, and in 10 years, I had a certain amount of progress. I did TRE for a month and I had the same amount of improvement as I did over 10 years of mindfulness practice. It just wasn't even close. Because of this supporting of body regulation, which therefore changed my state. And therefore my emotions changed, my mindset changed. A lot of the triggers that used to bring on anxiety or depression or autoimmune issues, stomach dysfunction, digestive issues. All of these things have minimized, if not completely disappeared. I used to be chronically anxious and depressed on a regular basis, and I just don't deal with that as a problem anymore. Now, it can come up if my life gets too stressful, but I now have the tools to go, oh, this is what's going on. Let me readjust some things.
So sarcastically, I will say here, so what you're saying is that what's happening in my body actually impacts my brain.
Hell yeah.
It's not vice versa.
Yeah. Well, so it happens both ways.
Okay, so say more.
So in the body, when the body is in a survival stressed state, and a corresponding level of tension, it's getting ready to fight or flee, or if it gets high enough in stress, it goes into shutdown mode. So collapse or freeze or some form of immobilization. When the body goes into that state, it changes the mindset. So depending on the state of your nervous system, the state of your body, your mindset will reflect that state. And because 80% of our nerve pathways coming up from the body are afferent, they're feeling based, versus top down, which comes from the mind to the body, foot move in a circle, right? That's a top down conscious control response. It's only 20%. So if we change those signals, the bottom up signals in the body, the top down signals flow more easily. We're able to be a better version of ourselves essentially. Because we're not in survival anymore, we have the resources to recover, to replenish, to digest, to sleep well, to recover from exercise, to regulate our emotions, to show up to a conversation in a way where we're looking to collaborate and connect with one another, rather than looking to win, be right, or defend or attack, right? And that's just a survival state in the body that shifts the mind in that way. In a sense, a lot of why I'm so passionate about this is I've had a very difficult time in my life when people are mean to each other. Who doesn't? Who likes that, right? But it's particularly triggering for me, and it makes me want to hide away, right? And so I learned things like nonviolent communication, like how can we find a way to connect, right? And once I learned the regulation patterns in the body and how it affects the mind and the emotions and our general impulses and behaviors, I was like, whoa, how could this change society for the better? And as I continued to practice all of these things, particularly in the body with TRE as an example, yoga, Tai Chi, these are all things that support me being able to respond rather than react in a survival-based way. So it's more than just helping your body and your mind to feel better. I believe it's going to make the world a better place.
I love that.
Agreed. I mean, I think none of us want to talk therapy, but I think at the same time, a lot of what you're saying is that I can't think my way out of what my body's dealing with.
Exactly.
I can't mantra myself out of it. I can't read enough books, I can't, because, I mean, I've tried it personally, but like, the idea that like, we actually have to get into our body to deal with what our body is dealing with.
Yeah, and there are a lot of, contentious conversations where, I think what you're referring to is a lot of people are like, no, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and top-down techniques, talk therapy, they're the way to go. That's where all the science is. That's where all the money is. But and then other people are like, no, it's bottom up. It's the body. It's both.
It's both.
And it doesn't have to. We don't have to pit them against each other.
Yeah.
It's just there's this order of operations that can be so helpful. Once we support the body first and get it into safety mode, it won't be fighting to survive when we're trying to have that talk therapy, when we're trying to do cognitive behavioral therapy, when we're trying to do the top-down changes in our life. We won't be fighting ourselves if we get the body in safety first. So rather than, one is better, it's like, there's an order to it.
Yeah.
As we get into our bodies, as we embody, we allow the conditions to be such that we're able to be the best version of ourselves. Our cognition works better. Why wouldn't talk therapy work better when our body's in safety? So, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's proven in food. The way that we eat, sleep, like if you ever try to have a conversation with your partner when you're dog tired, like someone once gave me advice, never go to sleep on your anger. And I was like, I tried that. So we'd stay up all night. And we would just fight and fight and fight and fight. And then somebody was like, no, go to sleep. Wake up refreshed. And it was amazing to me how many times we'd be like, we're just gonna go to sleep. And in the morning it was like, I don't really remember we were fighting about. I had some breakfast, some peanut butter, some coffee. But it's that, I think I love what you're saying, because it's the whole mind-body experience. Is like, are we eating well? Are we taking care of our sleep? Are we maintaining our body? It's not about any one thing against each other. And I think that's the most important thing we start to create in holistic communities is, we do yoga, you do TRE, I have a friend who teaches Tai Chi. Like, it's all about community. Right?
Yeah.
Bringing us together. I have this skill set, you have this skill set. Let's bring these skill sets together. And in this particular case, this works. In this particular case, this works. Hey, these two complement each other.
Yes.
Question for you.
Yes.
I'm really curious about your thought process on this.
Okay.
When the body is in a survival loop, do you think we can understand what we need in a biological space?
That's a very interesting question. Okay, so part of the survival response is to cut off awareness so that we don't get overwhelmed with those feelings.
Right.
So by the very nature of the survival response, we're going to be disconnected from a lot of our needs and understanding what the body needs. That doesn't mean we don't know what we need in the moment. It means that it's compromised and we need to be gentle with ourselves.
I love that.
And articulation could be challenging.
Yes.
Yeah, in fact.
So like in a partnership, when you're in a fight or flight mode and you're trying to get the partner to say, well, what do you need? Can you tell me what you need? And they're like, I don't know, I don't know. And so as like, for me as a partner, I'm like, yeah, but can you just tell me? If you can just tell me what you need, I can do this for you. And people are like, I can't, And so I think that's what you're saying. Is speaking to exactly that. Is when I'm in fight or flight or when I'm in survival mode, there is no articulation.
It's
At
not
least for
easy,
me.
that's for sure. Yeah, so there's
or what does come out isn't even necessarily often what comes out isn't even what I need. Because like for me, what comes out is leave me alone.
Yeah.
But it's the last thing that I need. So what do you need? I need you to just leave me alone.
It's a need for space.
Yeah.
That's a valid need.
But it's also a need for space. What I hear you saying is the space that's needed is inside of me.
Yes.
It's not necessarily away from people. What you're saying is with TRE, I create space inside of myself, which allows me to be able to process life differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
And I think it's important to, in case anyone took from that we always need to be with people to heal. That is totally not true. We need space sometimes.
Yeah.
We absolutely need to take space sometimes. And I know that you know that. And saying that out loud is important because some people might watch the video and go, yeah, but I need space. What if I don't need, and then they overwhelm themselves getting in social engagement. So like there's this process of becoming aware of ourselves and going, okay, so how can I do that in conversation? Oh, I don't have the resources. I can't go. I don't have the words right now. Okay, maybe I need to do some self-regulation practice. Maybe I need to isolate myself a little bit so I can find my center, find my sense of groundedness, find my body signals. Oh, what were they saying? Oh, you know, I think maybe what I need is some support around helping my body relax after work. Maybe, you know, maybe he or she in that conversation you were referring to wasn't able to get in touch with that. And so by finding a way to get in touch with the body, then they can start to not only lower the stress load so the brain comes online better, but also actually feel what's going on. And very often, so there are 4 layers of neurological function that are really fun to go into here and really helpful to sort of inform this whole process. And it makes everything kind of intuitive about how to approach it. So on the surface layer, so this is from Peter Levine's work. He created Somatic experience.
I love Peter Levine.
He's awesome. So he wrote this book called Trauma and Memory. And he talks about this concept called somatic memory. So the words we use, declarative memory is another word for it. So think of to declare. I'm using my words, right? So if I write or I speak, this is using the language centers in the left side of the brain, right? To express what my experience is. Underneath that experience is a deeper level called episodic. And these are both explicit, by the way, meaning conscious, right? And so explicit, declarative or semantic, and explicit episodic. Think of an episode of a story, the emotional feel of that story, right?
Okay,
So am I feeling sad about what I just said? Am I feeling fear? Am I feeling anger? Am I feeling sadness? You know, what's the experience there underneath emotionally? And then there's this sort of dividing line in this chart that I'm thinking of. Implicit, that is unconscious in the body. The first layer, you might say, is the body language experience, which is referred to as implicit emotional. So we convey our emotions through gestures, our posture, right? Facial expressions, tone of voice, prosody. You know, if I have inflections of high and low in my voice, I'm showing emotion, right? The cadence, if I'm talking really fast, I'm really excited, that's pretty clear. Or if I'm taking my time, then, you know, there's this lowering of pitch that happens naturally, and you sort of get this conveyed sense of, oh, okay, he's relaxed about this, you know, what he's conveying. I'm expressing through body language. That's that unconscious layer that comes out through body language. And underneath that is something called implicit procedural memory, otherwise known as body memory. And so the breathing, movement, and sensation that I was talking about in somatic work is what happens on that layer. And so think of that as the body state, the state of the nervous system, and how that affects the body, and how does that affect the layers above it, so to speak. And I'm saying above and below in sort of quotes because nothing is really above or below, but in terms of getting to the root of the experience you're having, starting in the body will affect the body language that you show. If I'm in a calm, relaxed state, my body language will reflect that. Right? If I'm in a calm and relaxed state, my emotions will generally be easily accessed. I'm able to access my emotions, whether they're positive or negative. They're an expression that I'm able to connect to, and I'm able to use my words. And that's that most surface level. It's like, okay, if I don't have those base levels regulated, if they're not expressing in a way that's calm and grounded, getting access to my words, that's going to be very difficult. Just like we were describing that in that example, the words are kind of the last piece. Right? And in infant development, we develop from that base level up. It's before the age of 6, most of what we're experiencing is the implicit level. You know, and as we start to develop speech and the ability to talk, the ability to write, we're starting to sort of integrate this body experience that we can't put into words exactly. But we find some words and we're like, yeah, well, I can describe some of what's going on. And so the body experience is mostly what's below the surface of awareness. And the tip of the iceberg is, you know, what we can describe in breathing, movement, sensation, our body language. And we can look at it, feel it, describe it, and we can say what we're feeling emotionally, and we can use words to describe it. You know, so this hierarchy gives you sort of a sense of the support systems in our nervous system, and by starting at the base level, we're influencing the ones above it. So it's not to say that our mindset can influence the body; it can. But if we don't do the base level first, it's going to be very difficult for that cognitive functioning to work. So that being said, it's like, oh, cool. So now I have sort of a map of the experience, and when I'm not able to express my words, the words themselves will not really be available until I address, okay, so oh man, I just noticed I have tension in my shoulders and chest. All right, hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna connect to my arms and chest. I'm gonna move my spine, my legs around a little bit. That's right. Oh, I was holding my breath. I didn't even notice. Oh, now it just came in because I allowed myself to notice. Oh, okay, and now this opening of the lung pathways are starting to happen, and the muscles there that were restricted are starting to let go because I generated some awareness. That's top down. But the bottom up is the actual movement and feeling of the experience. The right brain felt sense of it, right? And so as I'm doing this, I'm like, oh, okay, that's what my body's communicating with me. I didn't have any awareness of that. I wasn't even focusing on it. Oh, cool. And as I focus on that, and I allow it to process, noticing, breathing, moving, sensing, all of a sudden I'm actually okay. So here are the words. I found them, right? The words came as a result of connecting to the body again. And so this practices that we're doing here together, TRE that we're going to be offering here soon, yoga, and all of the practices that connect us to our bodies give us this foundation so that we can address whatever it is in our lives that are.
Okay, so I think the three of us could probably talk for another 2 hours.
Yeah, we can definitely keep going.
Let's
give it.
Pick one of us. Let's do. Well, maybe each of us. You'll pick a pose or something, and we can play with it. Or I don't know how it works.
So
how does it work?
So let me go ahead and go into that.
Let's do it.
So the way TRE works is that there are 7 preparatory exercises, and the way that the function they serve is that they provide a priming of the nervous system through movement, sensation, and you'll notice breathing changes that are happening. We start with the feet and we work our way up the body. Now what we're doing is we're creating a sense of awareness so think of the stress levels in the nervous system, the 3 basic branches, the dorsal vagal shutdown, red light, and then the sympathetic fight or flight, yellow light, and then the rest and digest, safety, green light, right? And so when we're in the red light response, we can't calm from there, it doesn't work. We need some form of stimulation to get out of that stuck state. So deep inhales, moving the body. These are all things that help us to stimulate enough to come down out of that red state. Those preparatory exercises support that process. Now, as we become aware through a gentle level of stimulation, then once we're in that yellow zone, we're able to feel more. It might not be comfortable sensations, but we're aware of them. And once we're in that yellow state, well, then we can calm directly. It works.
Okay.
Whereas in the red state, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's why we do a combination of stimulation and exhales are common. And seeing if we can let go of tension every exhale, just a little bit more. This is the first exercise.
Blade to outer blade?
Yep. Just shifting the ankles and feeling the feet. You can think of the upper body like a tree swaying in the breeze. Finding a rhythm with your breath and your movement. As you focus your attention on the sensations in the soles of your feet. You're waking up awareness, gently stretching the ankle. Vocal exhales can be helpful. After about 5 or 6 each way, just gently shake it out. Any tension you may have generated, we release it. Then we move to the next part. Warming up the calves, you can hold on to something for balance if you need it. Safety is important, so challenging your balance isn't necessary. So that's why holding on to something is probably a good idea.
I'm going to turn sideways.
And as you move, you're going to start to feel for the fatigue building up in your calf muscles. Right? And you want to reach no more than a 6 out of 10 intensity. So that's probably going to be warmer, maybe a little burning, but not much. And once you reach that 6, it's enough. Shake it out, it's done. So the process of waking up the system is actually pretty quick.
Yeah.
So you can go into now warming up the thighs, so the quads mostly, a little hamstring and glutes. Partial squat is a helpful way to do that. So make sure your knees are comfortable and you find a depth where your knees are comfortable and your legs are working, you feel the work.
Okay.
Gently pump up and down about ½ an inch. This is my version of this exercise. So there's a more intense version that's typically taught. I find this is usually workable for most people.
We do this a lot in my somatic yoga classes, believe it or not. Right here.
Nice. So again, 6 out of 10 is all we need.
Yeah.
When you reach a 6 out of 10, that's enough.
It would take longer for us, given that we do this every day.
And you can go deeper, or you can shift the weight to one leg and do one at a time. The one that's taught online typically is actually this. I find this way too advanced for most people, honestly.
I do want to try it.
But you're welcome to give it a try.
So bend the knee.
So yeah, when you bring it in, then come down here.
Yeah. And so again, just 6 out of 10. building up intensity in that one. And then shake it out.
So interesting.
The next two, priming through stretching.
Okay.
So there's probably the yoga pose version of this.
Yeah.
So bending your knees and spreading your legs wide enough that you're going to start to stretch your adductors and your hamstrings as you hang to the center. Relaxing your upper body, 3 deep breaths.
Oh my gosh, if you heard my back crack.
So good. And then moving your upper body over one leg, full breaths on this side. And after 2 or 3 breaths, we're going to shift to the other side.
All of us are right on it.
Right, left.
Yeah.
And then after a couple breaths, we'll go back to the center. If you want more stretch, you can walk through the legs with the hands a little bit. Only as far as is comfortable. And after a couple breaths, coming out of this, we want to do it very slow. Support with the arms and slowly walk the feet in. Once you're about hip width apart, very slowly walking your hands up your body for support. Head coming up last, slower the better, like slow motion. You reach the top. If you don't have a head rush, that's a good sign. And you're just reinforcing safety through slow, gentle movement. Now we're going to stretch the psoas. This is the muscle that we initiate the tremors in when we start the TRE process on the floor. So we're going to start by stretching, turning the toes in a little bit, getting a little stretch on the abductors, rotators, and gently pushing the sacrum forward. So the hands between the butt and the lower back. Pushing forward with the hands, but don't arch the back too much.
Okay.
You want to push the butt back into the hands too, so there's a bridge between the two. Broadening and opening the chest. And 3 deep breaths, using your mouth to breathe in and out. Try to swell the belly on the inhale. Diaphragmatic breath. 1 more. And then twist, look over one shoulder. So we're stretching more on one side here. 2 or 3 deep breaths. And then gently switching to the other side when you're ready. 2 or 3 breaths here. Gently straightening out when you're ready. And as you release, relax your arms, maybe shake them out a little bit. If this generated any lower back tension, you can just rub in the lower back. And,
Can I just say, I love our life.
Yeah. I love that we get to do this. Flame. Yes. Amen.
So this is exercise 5 of 7 of the priming exercises. So exercise 6 I find to be more intense for most people.
Okay.
And so if you remember that wall sit that we used to do in gym class, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's similar to that, but it's much more gentle.
Okay.
So the idea is to find a position on the wall where you can see your toes past your knees and relax the upper body. And you want to find a level, how low you go, is based on how intense it is for you. So 5 out of 10 is plenty. You're just going to hang out here until it reaches a 7. So over time, we're going to build enough charge, some challenge in the legs here, to reach not only a 7 as we move up the walls. Once you reach a 7, you come up a little bit to a 5 again. Adjust your feet so you can still see your toes past your knees. And at a certain point, you're going to start to feel movement in the legs. And this is from the challenge, because we're challenging it more than the other exercises.
Okay.
These are both postural tremors, so this is like the fatigue base.
Yes.
Right? And so the shaking you may feel is probably going to be pretty subtle at first, like a vibrating or a humming. But this wakes up the body's sense of, oh, shaking's okay. And again, if you reach a 7, come up a little bit. Adjust the feet so you can see the toes just past the knees. And once you feel shaking for, I would say at least 30 seconds, then you're going to start to change your approach. Instead of going between a 5 intensity and a 7, you're going to try to get the intensity to go below a 5.
Interesting. Okay.
But you want to maintain the shaking.
Okay.
So there's this gentle process of making your way up the wall slowly. Make sure you maintain some level of movement, tremors, shaking, vibrating, humming. And you want to do it gradually so you maintain shaking, but it gets easier.
And we want the knees straight out parallel.
You can actually adjust to what feels comfortable.
Okay.
So it could be straight, as long as the knees and the toes face the same direction.
Got it. Okay. All right. I was definitely
You're
curious.
welcome to turn out a little bit if
Right.
that feels comfortable on your hips.
Daniel made me do this one time,
Oh yeah.
and I got to 4 minutes, and he was like, "Never mind, just stop."
I'm dead. That's
He was
great.
like, "You and your damn horseback riding."
I'm dead. That's great.
So me personally, I have a lot of shaking and it's intense, so I'm gonna come up higher.
Yeah.
And once you achieve shaking and you're below a 5, do that for no longer than a minute.
Okay.
And then we hang forward and see if we can let it travel up the body a little bit.
Oh wow. Okay. I gotta go lower to get a shake going on. I gotta make this happen, Kevin. All right. This reminds me of when I used to teach
Oh, there.
bar, and this is literally, it was embrace the shake, but it was for, you know, the intentional like exertion of muscles, not for the nervous system piece.
Gotcha.
Okay, legs. Anytime now.
So even if you don't feel a conscious noticeable movement,
Yeah.
any sort of humming or vibration is enough.
Okay. All right.
So
Got humming.
some people don't feel any movement because they can't detect it yet.
Okay.
That's okay. But you don't want to push past the point where your body starts to get too warm and
Right.
you know maybe you
Okay.
feel anxiety because you're working so hard.
Okay.
Don't ever let it get there.
Okay.
So once I found it, I could come up a little more, and I
Yep.
can feel it now. I see what you're saying, because like my legs aren't moving, but I can feel a vibrating.
Yeah, I can definitely feel the vibration.
So
Nice.
yeah, and so once you're playing with that, finding where the shaking is still happening,
Yeah.
but it's easy enough that it's less than a 5 intensity. This is where we transition from postural tremors to neurogenic tremors. And I'm about at a 3.5, 4. So, like I said, I'm underbounded. I tend to shake a lot. That's just me. It progresses as you practice more, but some people just shake quickly, automatically. Some people are very slow, and both are great.
Okay.
So
I definitely
probably,
feel like this.
Yeah, me too.
probably has been enough time, regardless of what you're feeling. So keep the shaking.
Okay.
But what you're going to do now is with your butt on the wall, hang forward. That forward bend as you relax your spinal muscles, drop your head. And from here, shift the weight to the fronts of your feet. So your heels may not come off the ground, but there's less weight there.
So back still on the wall.
Your butt might touch the wall just a little bit. And from here, you may feel a little shaking in the legs, you may not. What you're going to do now is you're going to bend your knees to drop your butt a little bit and lift, about up and down about an inch or 2.
Oh, there, yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to find shaking not only in your legs, but as you relax your upper body, you may find it travels up into the hips, the spine, the arms, the neck.
I'm so jealous right now. I need to learn how to do this.
Oh wait, it's working.
Oh.
It takes time. And so it's about a balance between effort and relaxation. Anything that doesn't need to be tense, you want to learn to relax that. Let the breath flow. And this hang forward position is only about 30 to 60 seconds.
Okay.
So we're well past that, and you can very slowly make your way up.
Okay.
So whether you reach the shaking or not, it's important to recognize that the body has its own timeline. And it will start to express in that way when it's ready to do so.
Okay.
And even if you don't feel it, it's probably happening on an unconscious level really slowly.
Probably.
So that's plenty. So this is a priming exercise.
Okay.
So the shaking that you'll definitely feel is when you're on the ground.
Got it. Okay. Love it.
So laying on your back, I'm just hanging and that creates unnecessary tension. I'm
Okay.
gonna wedge those pillows in there for support. And making sure my head and my neck are comfortable. Okay, cool. All right, taking about a minute to breathe, scan for tension. And let's pretend I did a minute. The 7th preparatory exercise is to lift the hips just slightly. So watch how small this is. 1, 2, 3, and lift. That's it.
Okay.
I didn't even come off the ground, but the glutes are engaged.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold this for about a minute to fatigue the hip muscles.
Okay.
Now again, for the sake of time, I'm not gonna do the full minute. I'm primed and I can start my tremors pretty quickly because I've practiced it for almost a decade. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna come down and you would relax for another minute and then begin the process of waking up tremors. So there are 5 incremental lifts. Some schools of thought teach 4. We're gonna lift just slightly, about ½ an inch. It's less than you think. I'm gonna hold that there for a minute. After a minute, I'm gonna lift another inch. Hold there. 1 minute. And then a third time. A fourth time. And the other way of practicing it my partner in the online TRE community, she just does 3 lifts, and then the final one, she calls final tremor position. You flatten your feet on the ground, and your knees will come up just a little bit more. And typically, shaking starts to happen either in the 4th or 5th, the last 2.
Okay.
But sometimes it happens as early as the first one.
Wow.
And the idea is by waking up the tremor slowly, and this will happen automatically. I'm not doing this on purpose, I'm allowing it.
Okay.
So it's kind of like turning on a water spigot in a sense,
Okay.
and you increase the intensity by changing the position.
Okay.
And so after you've done 5 full minutes, the final minute on the position where your feet are flat on the ground, you adjust to where it feels most comfortable to shake. So it's not about the shaking. It's about, there we go, see how it's a different pattern when I move my feet forward.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's starting to move into my hips, this sort of salsa rhythm in my hips here, and I'm rocking forward and back. My pelvis is tilting,
Oh my gosh.
and I get a little movement in my left shoulder blade here. So once I find the most comfortable position,
Yeah.
let's call it this,
Okay.
we start the first round of shaking. The stuff before that was just warm up. And my body's going through a process of releasing tension. I'm allowing it to happen. And this is an unconscious process. If I was to immerse myself in this and get into my body a little more, I'd probably vocalize. There's a pattern in the left side of my neck going on right now. And in my facial muscles, you can see squinting going on. There's a release there. Okay, so it's about a minute when you first start practicing that before you go into rest. And you either rest on the pillows here in diamond or open butterfly position, or you extend the legs out, whatever's most comfortable. You go through a mindfulness process of scanning the body. So I'd probably guide you through about a 5-minute process. And by focusing on the sensations, it uses different brain circuits that supports lowering stress load and the integration of what was just released through the shaking. Okay. So after that process of mindfulness of rest, the first rest period is done, you check in with the body. Does it want to go into another round of shaking or not? Unlike yoga, where everyone may be doing the same thing, it's very personalized. So sometimes people will do the same, but somebody might say, it feels better to stay in rest. I'm going to stay in rest. Well, another person might say, okay, I'm going to go back in and see how it feels. Oh yeah, okay, I like that. I'm going to stay in this. We usually do 2, maybe 3 rounds of shaking and rest. Let's say I finished all my rounds of shaking, all my rest. I go into stop position, tensing the body. This is a conscious contraction of the muscles. This tells the body to turn the tremor mechanism off. It's also the movement I'm doing. I'm tensing my quads, which tells the psoas muscle, which is part of the hip flexor, right? Tells the psoas essentially, I want conscious control. Turning the unconscious tremor mechanism off. Notice my breathing's a little bit more shallow. I feel the tension in my muscles. So these are all signs my body is going, okay, time to stop it. After a minute, totally relax either on the back. A lot of people like to roll onto their side, get into fetal position, and now just let the mind drift. Sometimes settling in here, you can be here, turning off the lights, putting on meditation music. It's a nice, kind of like doing corpse pose. Shavasana.
Yeah.
And then, after a couple minutes, we'll gently, slowly make our way up to the seated position. And then each person in the class can start to talk about the experience. And this is called the debriefing portion.
Okay.
So now we're using that top layer, that declarative memory of semantics, your language in the left part of your brain, to help support the integration process into your individual self by talking about it.
Okay.
So what was the experience like today? Was this your first session? Okay. What did you experience? Oh, it was surprising. I didn't know my body was going to shake so much. Whatever comes out.
Which is one in the shot. But oh my gosh. So with the shaking, if somebody was totally at 0 in their body, right? Like there was no survival loops open in their body in some magical land that is not this world.
I was about to say.
Right. And so would the body still shake?
You could make it, yeah.
You can, okay.
But here's the thing. TRE is an art more than a science.
Okay.
So this is a really important question.
Yeah.
Because learning to practice TRE is about learning to recognize what your body's telling you and how much stimulation it needs to release tension and how quickly it needs to go into rest.
Yeah.
So how intense should the shaking be? Well, there are signs that your body's giving you in your belly, for example, your gut feelings.
Yeah.
When you walk into a room and you know everybody and you're laughing and talking as soon as you walk in, you generally have relaxation and comfortable feelings in your gut. If you don't know anybody, all of a sudden, this wrenching in your gut, like, oh, I gotta be on guard, right? That's the gut feeling signals that you can start to feel into while you're doing TRE as well as the rest of your life.
Right.
But it gives you an indication. Should I make my shaking more intense? Well, if you have tension in your gut, probably not. Either slow it down, or maybe it's time to go into rest. So some people will do shaking periods for 10, 15 minutes. I find for most people that's too much. So I do about a minute of shaking and 5 minutes of rest. That is a large proportion of rest to activation. But I also find that, like, we're not in that magical land where nobody has stress cycles that are unfinished, right? That are complete, right? So because of that, we're going to discover that under the surface of awareness, tension and unresolved stress cycles will emerge. And if we do it too quickly, it's, I call it melting the iceberg of the unconscious. So the iceberg being that frozen out of awareness stuff in our body is tension, right? And as we release it, if we were to use a blowtorch in this metaphor, it's too much, too quickly releasing, and so we get overwhelmed with feeling. We're going to refreeze, so to speak. We're going to go back into that freeze response. We're going to cut off awareness unconsciously because our body's trying to protect us. So we want to use a heating pad, very gently melting that iceberg, right? And pacing it in a way where we learn to notice, okay, what are the sensations I'm now aware of that I wasn't aware of before?
Right, as opposed to reshocking the system inside of TRE.
Yeah. You totally can overwhelm the system with neurogenic tremors. You can have way too much of a good thing. And so it's helpful no matter where you are in your healing process, whether you have really severe, dysregulation going on. In that case, you might only shake for 10 seconds or not at all. Maybe you just do the mindfulness process after the priming exercise. Maybe you don't shake. Someone who has, bipolar diagnosis or, borderline or, it's something really severe like that. They're probably not going to be able to handle very much stimulation. I would probably say don't do TRE if that's the case. But if, like, for example, I had pretty severe dysregulation in my early childhood, but I didn't know that until I did the research, right? Once I figured that out and I felt into, oh, this isn't ADHD, which I was diagnosed as having. Turns out it was CPTSD from early childhood development.
Cheers.
Yeah, right? And so as a result, I needed to figure out how to resolve this tension and survival response in my body, and I didn't have the resources to do it. I couldn't go to therapy. I couldn't afford it. And so when I found TRE, I was like, this is a way that I can start to slowly take the pressure off, the pressure release valve. And as I started to do that, some of the major symptoms that I had never had relief from, they disappeared.
Oh my goodness.
Anxiety, depression, stomach issues, autoimmune, skin flare-ups, all sorts of things that I thought were just, part of my life. Spacing out. I used to dissociate all the time throughout the day. And my joke to myself is I don't dissociate without my own consent anymore. 2 more deep breaths like that. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and lift your hips just slightly. So your knees are still falling out to the side, inner thighs relaxed. And as you hold here, I want you to notice, is there any other part of your body you can relax? This is a great opportunity to practice that balance between effort, in your hips in this case, and relaxation. About another 10 seconds. Notice the sensations in your hips that are changing as you're holding here, maybe even movement. Whenever you're ready, you can bring your hips back down, totally relax. And again, scanning for tension on the inhale. And relaxing more on the exhale. Okay, whenever you're ready, go ahead and lift your knees about ½ an inch. It's much less than you think. Just hold here and notice. Do you have movement already? And if so, is it subtle or is it noticeable? Is it humming vibration, or is it noticeable bouncing? What's more important is what you feel rather than what anyone can see. I might see movement, but if you don't feel it, it doesn't matter. It's about what you feel as you scan. Scan almost a minute. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and lift your knees another inch. Just a second hold. And as you notice the movement happening, at whatever level it's happening, see if you can detect an origin point. Where does the movement start from? And kind of like battle ropes in the gym, right? You shake the rope and you watch the wave travel down. In the same way, from the origin point of movement, the wave is traveling in a particular direction. What direction do you feel it moving? Is it moving down toward the knees, the feet? Is it moving up toward the hips, the belly? Is it something different? Maybe it's more than one way. Since you're both moving, we're going to do 4 lifts rather than 5. Let's go ahead and lift another inch. Notice any changes. Soles of your feet are still together. And start to notice the different sensations that are happening not only in your legs, but in your belly and elsewhere. It could be anything up at the midline of your body. Pelvis, belly, solar plexus, chest, neck. Cramping? Oh, definitely resting. So it's been long enough. You can flatten your feet and see how the tremors feel different. So generally this is more relaxing. It's gentler with the feet flat on the floor. If it's still cramping, you can go back into rest. If it's not, you may find you like this better. Notice how the movement pattern is different. Very often it's higher frequencies or quicker. Notice if there's a relationship between your breathing and your movement. It's probably plenty warm up for both of you, so find the position that feels most comfortable to shake. So this is open and warm up. The rest now is the first round of shaking. So wherever it feels most comfortable to shake, let me know when you find it. Yeah? Tiffany, you there too? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So no more than a minute. And again, if you feel cramping happening again, that's a sign to go into rest. If you don't feel cramping, you can also notice feelings in your belly. You've got feelings. Are they communicating with you? How's your breathing changing?
Feels less like shaky and more like Tourette's.
Well, it's unconscious, it's automatic. So it's totally like Tourette's, actually.
Like, I wanted to have a rhythm, and it's like.
Yeah.
So we're approaching a minute. Whenever it feels right to go into rest, you can do that. Either on the pillows, blocks, or you can extend the legs all the way out if that feels better. So I'm going to guide you through a mindfulness process. Eventually you'll do this on your own. But for now, I'm going to start by guiding you. You're going to imagine a flashlight, and that represents your attention. Point that flashlight at the soles of your feet. Noticing the sensations there. And then move that flashlight of attention to the tops of your feet and your ankles, to your shins and calves, and into your knees. Flowing attention up into the thighs, and up into the hips, into the lower back, the sides, and around to the belly where the navel is. Moving up the belly to the solar plexus, around to the floating ribs, all the way around to the mid-back, noticing how it rests on the floor. Moving up to the shoulder blades, are they evenly resting on the ground, or is one more solid or heavy? Moving up to the armpits, chest and sternum, up the chest to the collarbones, around the base of the neck to the upper back, or traps, out to the deltoids, down the upper arms to the elbows, down the forearms to the wrists, the hands, attention up to the front of the neck, the sides of your neck, back of your neck, up to the base, the back of your head, where it's resting on the pillow there. Top of your head, your scalp. The sides of your head, where the temples and the ears are. Into the face, starting with the cheeks, cheekbones, the muscles and bones of the jaw. Down the jaw to the chin, the lips, inside the mouth to the feelings in the teeth and the gums, tongue, and the roof of the mouth. Bring attention out to the tip of the nose and the nostrils. Moving up the nose to the spot between the eyes, out to the eyebrows, the eyelids, a little deeper into feeling the eyeballs. Sensations in the muscles behind the eyes that control the direction of your vision. To your forehead. And now expand that flashlight of attention to cover your whole face and head. Expand it further to cover the entire upper body down to the waist. And now expand it to cover the entire body from the top of the head to the tips of the toes. Noticing how does your body feel now that it feels different than before we started. Mindset may have changed. Your awareness, your breathing. And whenever you're ready, I'm going to go into stop position, straightening the arms and legs and tensing the muscles. It only needs 30 seconds, 30 to 60. Notice how it feels different as you consciously engage the body. As the breathing change. This tells the body to turn off the tremors to gain conscious control. You can either hold and squeeze or stretch and move, whatever feels comfortable. Active, conscious. And whenever you're ready, totally relax, let your mind drift. Either on your back or on your side. Nothing to focus on now, just allowing the mind to go where it wants. In about a minute, but not yet, you'll make your way to the seated position. But before you do, imagine how you'll do it in a way that's as gentle as possible. So whatever level of peace and relaxation you've generated in your body, you can take that with you. Whenever that's clear in your mind, you can make your way up just how you imagined it. Take your time. And as you reach the seated position, begin to orient in the room, slowly turning your eyes and your head and your torso left and right, taking in your visual, with your visual field, your surroundings. And by doing this slowly, it reinforces the state of safety. And just start to reflect on what that experience was like. And be a little bit more brief, obviously, because we have about 5 minutes till 4 here. But as you start to talk about what your experience was like, it supports further integrating what was released.
That was wild. That was wild.
The only other time I felt that is in cranial sacral release. My body, my head starts to like spin like I'm an exorcist. But I love that space of non-voluntary movement. Like I love it. I love that feeling where my body gets to do what it wants to do. And it takes something for me to get into that headspace. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of conditioning in our culture around suppressing vulnerability.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does feel vulnerable. It particularly feels like.
A lot where TRE